Absolver is kinda weird. If you've ever tried to imagine what a fighting game MMO looks like, this is probably as close as we're gonna get. The studio Slow Clap is more known for Sifu, a single-player action fighting game that honestly is much better than Absolver, because it's not dragged down by half-baked online functions, obscure mechanics, and customization features that might take you some time to get your head around. That's not to say that the game's bad by any means. I mean, I think it's great. And this cat seems to like it, but the concept might be slightly more interesting than the execution. Absolver has a strange semi-open world, which will be familiar if you've ever played games like The Division, or even the Souls games. You can run into other players and even fight them unprompted, but it's not really an MMO filled to the brink with other players. Probably doesn't help that I'm playing it long after its peak. In my 20 plus hours playing the game, I think I ran into roughly 4 to 6 people, a few of which I actually convinced to do co-op.
Happy feet, combo combo.
When you start the game, you need to decide between 3 different fighting styles: Windfall, Forsaken, and Cult Method. Each style determines your starting moves, stats, and your main defensive option. Windfall is about graceful movement and dexterity. Their main defensive tool is Avoid. Forsaken focuses on strength and blocking. They can parry a hit with the right timing. Cult Method is also strength-based. They can absorb a hit and recover health if they can retaliate in time. So I'm going with Windfall, because kicks, I guess. After beating the game, I probably should have gone with Cult. They weren't lying about it being easier. On my second playthrough, I think I beat it in about 4 hours. The game starts with our disciple being selected by a master, who enchants our mask. After putting it on, we're thrown into the world of Adal. The game's story is fed to you piecemeal, like a Souls game. So without wiki diving, I couldn't really tell you what's going on. So the tutorial shows us the basics: how to lock on, light strike, heavy strike, stances. At first glance, the combat might look a little simple, but I'm telling you, it's not. Mistime a dodge, run out of stamina, or find yourself assaulted on both sides, and you're probably fucked. Life runs out quick, and the default heal is more effective if you hit your enemy within a small time frame. You can just use it, but, well, it ain't much. Enemies have life and stamina. Life speaks for itself, and stamina lets them dodge and block. So if you can hit a heavy attack or a guard break, you can wear them down for some free hits. But even with a successful parry or dodge, the enemies are far from helpless. They stay on you, adapt, and in many cases punish you, even if you've made the right defensive move. We run into the first boss, get him down, and once we speak to Talim, things are about to get a lot more complicated. So what separates Absolver from its spiritual sequel in Sifu? Well, this. This menu right here. Sifu gives the character a generic moveset, with a few unlockable skills. On the other hand, Absolver lets you customize every aspect of how your character fights. I hope you were paying attention during the tutorial, because it's about to get much, much worse. Every attack has a beginning stance, and an ending stance, which means that technically you can make a moveset that changes stance after every attack. So, if you want to stop the combo after 2 hits, or use a heavy hit after 1 hit, you might as well have just shifted into a completely different character. This attack leads into that attack, which leads into this attack, and then if we use a heavy attack, then it goes here, and finally back here. Oh boy. You do have the option of button mashing, but the game will punish you for it, destroying your stamina and making the transitions between moves extremely sluggish. Only well-timed presses will make the moves flow properly. You don't have to trick your opponent when you're fighting the AI, but if you're playing online and your opponent figures out your bullshit combos, what strike leads to what, and what your bad habits are, then you're in for a beating. So if your kick heavy deck isn't working out, like mine, try something else. And if that's not complicated enough, here's what an endgame deck looks like. Fucking nightmare. Then you add special shard moves into the mix, weapons, environmental hazards, and Kurt Angle knows he can't beat me at Sacrifice. He's not even gonna try. Landing strikes feels really satisfying in this game. You get the perfect amount of feedback, and the way the enemies reel back after being assaulted is great. My favorite part is finishing an enemy with a heavy move and watching them fly. The only way to learn new moves is by blocking them or using your fighting style's defensive option. Essentially, you learn moves by seeing them performed and mitigating them, which is really odd, but strangely enough, it makes perfect sense. Wax on, wax off. After the tutorial, the prospect is led to the bridge, and he's given a rudimentary map to look at. All the dots represent bosses that need to be defeated. Once again, it doesn't spoon-feed you the story, it gives you scraps through item descriptions, vague monologues, and environmental storytelling. And as for the rest of the story, let's just look at the fan wiki and steal Vardy's gimmick. Absolver, prepared to cry. In the earliest days of humanity, as men started organizing, they discovered the exceptional using the right tones. They discovered the exceptional tribes eventually discovered that the essence became also valuable resources to come and light in the nations. A nomadic tribe started to exploit and more. Yeah, look, I can't help you with that. We beat all the bosses and beat up this evil woman. By beating her, we now obtain the rank of Absolver, which, honestly, I don't know what that means. But you get a free cloak.
That's good.
But it does weigh quite a bit.
That's bad.
But it looks kinda cool.
That's good.
But it makes it hard to see because it blocks the camera. That's bad. The developers eventually added a free post-campaign called Downfall. Downfall is essentially a gauntlet mode that wraps up the story. You get 3 lives and need to clear several rooms and a boss. I found it significantly more difficult than the base game. It actually made me go back and learn a bunch of sword moves so that I could actually take advantage of the weapons. So you need to complete 3 gauntlets with a boss at the end. And they're not messing around. Armor guy, triple kick dude, and multi-man are not pushovers. The last boss seems to be some sort of fallen god, and the guy who's been giving us cryptic monologues and guiding us through Downfall is also a god. I think. And he's had enough of this dude. After beating Absolver twice and thoroughly enjoying it, I think Sifu is an objectively better game, but I like this one more. Look dude, just play Sifu, alright? Just don't worry about this one, it's fine.